Okay, so I'm making this video to help with compounding interest. And as you can see for this problem, I'm starting with a principal of $500. It's increasing by 7%, and it's doing that for 10 years. And right now we're just going to talk about compounding interest that just happens once per year. So if you think about it, we can think and say, okay, in the first year, we would make $500 plus whatever 500 times 7% would be, and 7% would be 0.07. Now the issue is, I'm going to have to repeatedly do that over and over again 10 times. And that's would take a little bit to say, okay, we add this, we do that, next year I add that, again, 500 times 0.07 and that whole amount. So that takes a little bit too long. So there's a better way that we can kind of write through this. And the better way would be if you did 500 times 1.07. Now that would calculate the 500, because 500 times 1 would give you that whole amount, and it would add on that 0.7 that we wanted. Now if you think about it, we want to do this calculation not once, but 10 times because there's 10 years. Well, the operation that allows me to do something over and over and over again for multiplication is exponents. So if I just raise if I do 500 times 1.07 to the 10th power, that should give me my answer. Which, if you type that in your calculator, is $983.57. Okay, so now we have a second type of problem, where I have a principal again, or my starting amount of $500, but this time instead of increasing in value, it's going to decrease in value by 6%, and it's only going to do it for 3 years this time. So if I'm thinking about it, this time I really want to do 500 times 0.06 minus my original $500. To find out each year how much I'm losing. Now, I don't want to do that again and again because we'd have to do that calculation, and after we do that calculation, we'd have to do that over again, and that would just be very, very time-consuming. So like in the last example, we're going to look at doing this just a bit shorter of a way. So when I look this time, instead of getting 100% back plus some this year, I'm starting out with 100% of my money, and I'm losing 6%. So at the end of the day, I'm only getting 96% of my money back. And so if we took our 500 and times that by the 96% that I'm getting back, that would tell me how much money I would have after year 1. Well, we don't want to just do that one time. Since we have 3 years, we're going to do that 3 times. And we would find out that the amount of money that we have left over, if we type that all in, would be $442 and a total of 37 cents if I round up. And so that would be my final answer. For my final example, let's say I started out with some bacteria. And let's say the bacteria for me, I started out with 14, and I know the bacteria just double every minute, so they just increase super, super rapidly. So if we're thinking about how we would do this, maybe we ask ourselves, how many would we have after 24 minutes? So after 24 minutes, how many bacteria would we have? Well, we can start to think about this. After 1 minute, I would do 14 times, and it's got a double, so I'd times it by 2. And after 2 minutes, I'd have times it by 2 again. And after 3, I times it by 2 again, times it by 4 for 4 minutes. And as you can see, we're repeatedly timesing by 2 until we get to 24 minutes. Instead of me doing all of that work and just keep writing it out until I get to 24, I could say, hey, that's the same thing as 2 to the 24th power times 14. And we'll see what that gives us. And it gives us a really, really big number, if I'm looking at this right. It gives me 234,888,024. So a really, really big number we end up with. So those are the 3 examples. And just remember, for all of these compounding interest or compounding type problems, you're trying to figure out what rate the thing multiplies by and what it starts out with. And the exponent is for how long normally you're going to repeatedly multiply these things by. Hopefully this helps.